Hello. Good evening,
Hello.
guys.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Good evening, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to I Want to Believe. Apologize for the show last week. We did cancellation on that. I actually went up to the historical town of Barkerville and did a couple of days investigations of up there, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, so we're back this week. We are back on form. So how have you been, Kathy?
I have been really good, actually, Peter. It's been a pretty good week. It's back to normal, right? Like, now that summer's officially kind of over and kids are back in school, kind of technically, sort of. Alberta's going into have fun times here. So,
Yeah.
that's all I can say about that.
The rest of Canada just look on and no.
Yeah, it's like, oh, welcome to our shit show.
Yeah, no, totally.
But
Totally.
otherwise, yeah, not too, it's pretty good. I just want to remind everybody that every Wednesday on my channel, on the Oracle Intuitions channel, we do a live show as well, where we do live readings on the channel. So not only make sure you subscribe to the I Want to Believe channel right here, and also onto Oracle Intuition, so that you can come on and watch the show, get a live reading. So how you doing, Pete?
I'm good. I've like I say, I was away at Barkerville last week. We went up there Saturday. We were there Saturday and Sunday. I took a 4-day trip up there, and pretty uneventful for the first duration of Saturday, and then we got a couple of really good EVPs in the old Judge Begbie courthouse. I don't know if you heard the story about Judge Begbie. He was like the hanging judge.
I have not. No.
Yeah, there was more correlation to the EVPs that we got with an old tour guide that used to be there, more than like the historical site. We kind of we got a positive ID from the tour guide that was showing us around, that this was the guy that used to play Judge Begbie a few years ago. So it was really, really like it was very an emotional moment, because that moment where this one tour guide asked a question, and then we got that response back to her question as well. Like she said, "I missed you," and there was a response saying, "I miss you back too." And it really, like, it gave up that validation on, and it makes what we do that extra bit magical, if that makes sense. And it was just. It was crystal clear as well. Like, there was no debating what it said, and loads of people,
So was the tour guide related to the person?
No, he was just he was a well-known character. Like where the courthouse was, it was kind of a kilometer away from the main town of Barkerville, and everyone knew this guy Tim, and he was kind of a character in town. And everyone, like whoever, all the tour guides that have been there for a certain amount of years knew about this guy and stuff like that. And it was like Tim this and Tim that. And then it was crazy. And it just made that, it was a really magical moment. Like, honestly, it just made it kind of made it all worthwhile. But yeah, so.
Excellent.
All good with that. So what about yourself? Shows and stuff like that? Has it been busy with you?
Yeah, pretty good. The show Wednesdays is going really good, and I've been kind of taking a break otherwise from my channel, but we'll be going back pretty soon. So doing more live shows, doing more readings, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's been good.
Perfect. Good. So I'm going to share a quick story, and I apologize to Dave that's in the background. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of investigating a heritage home in the Lower Mainland. In heritage, when you say in BC, is not as old as obviously places in like the East Coast and stuff like that.
Right.
we investigated this place to death, like, pardon the pun. We've been there multiple times, and there were certain characteristics of this home that we all remembered, like us as the team back then, like 10 years ago. There was one particular picture that was there, and it was noted because it was very creepy. And I'm going to share the picture with you now, and it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Do that again.
There you go. So
okay,
this it kind of stood out because of the guy standing in the back, and there was obviously he looks creepy as F, so we kind of stuck in the memory bank. To the last time we investigated there, we actually filmed for Lonely Planet, and we actually we filmed 2 weekends there, and then the show went live, and then the week after there was 2 paranormal teams that went in the weeks after, and I got a phone call from the manager, the curator of the museum, saying that one of the pictures has been stolen. And then it kind of got a bit political, and then the city got involved as well, where the city obviously owned the building as well, and they said no more investigations or anything like that. So they said no more teams in there or anything like that. Only people allowed in there have to be a part of a tour. So anyway, that was like years ago and stuff like that. Anyway, couple of long stories short, about 2 months ago, a friend of mine who recently just become a paranormal investigator, was new to the field, he said that he come across a picture that he was told it was haunted, and he got from another paranormal investigator that was actually in that location. After I left, and it was, he was investigating there as well. And I'm not saying it was him or anything like that, but he acquired the picture, and he then gave it to me. He said, "Do you want it?" So I said yes. So he brought it all the way up to Kamloops, got the picture, didn't register first of all, and then driving home with the picture in the back of my car, and I'm like, "That's the fucking picture." So I got in touch with a couple of guys that I investigated with a few years back, and lo and behold, they recognized it straight away because of that creepy guy.
Yeah.
And then I got in touch with the museum, and I was talking to the lady on the phone, and we flipped the painting over and the picture over, and on the back it was an asset number from the city as well. And lo and behold, that was the picture. So it got back safely to the Heritage Home.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it was good. It was quite a full-rounded story, but I guess that the negative side of it always that it puts a dampener on what we do in the field, like people going around stealing pictures and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that this guy who acquired it actually stole it, far from it, but it was stolen, and it was stolen at a time where there was teams in there, so it kind of puts more of a negative on us more than anything else. But yeah, so that's my story. Sorry, I'm dragging this on. So
no,
sorry.
It's true though, because like people do steal things, from different locations, but it's also sometimes articles can get broken or things get stolen or whatever, right? Like, you have to, and that's where we always talk about having a legitimate team.
Yeah, the problem is that there's always one that spoils it for the rest of us. And I had the same in the UK because I wasn't really a pioneer what I did, but I started in the direction of investigating like castles and stuff like that because of we were doing fundraising. And then some other teams in the UK picked up the same thing as well. And then one team decided to build a fire outside one of the castles. And because it's like a national heritage, they put a stop to it, and then there was no more of it anymore. So it was just one person that spoiled it for the rest of us.
Yeah. So
anyway, okay, sorry, drifting off. So this week, our guest is my good friend Dave Gibb. He is a seasoned paranormal investigator, and he resides from Ontario. And he actually is the founder, I believe he's the founder, he might correct me if I'm wrong, of the Canadian Haunting and Paranormal Society. So let's just bring him on, and he can say hi.
Hey.
Hi, Dave.
Hello, Dave. How's it going?
Good.
Good well.
Good. Sorry about that. I kind of started rabbiting on to start off with, but this is your show. This is your
oh dear.
show, Dave. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Dave.
Well, I guess how do I say it? Obviously, CHAPS anyway, formally put together in 2005. I've been investigating for 17 or 18 years previous to that. Also, I had grown up and I just saw a hi there from Adrian and Tina. Hi back there. I'll get
Hi,
down
Adrian.
to
Hi, Tina.
today. I had spent my life growing up in the Spiritualist church, which that's sort of the church where the psychics and the mediums come from, and you definitely have your opportunity to grow up and see the right and the wrong. Definitely more than enough exposure to dozens of charlatans in that field. Unfortunately, as with any field, 80% of them are just as bad. Where I became, on the one side of myself, I have the spiritual belief that I've been near it, and I do think that there's that other side. When I, started to investigate, it was more to a pragmatic side of things. As to, I want something that was a little hardcore proof. I was investigating on my own. I had my first pretty serious experience in Gettysburg, and it kind of landed from there. And then, believe it or not, CHAPS was kind of founded out of spite. I had moved to a smaller town in Northern Ontario, which was really religious. I won't even say right wing, because I'm not going to do right wing, left wing, because then all of a sudden everybody will get into a big bloody political fight. But it was a really religious town. Town of 13,000, and I think there were like 60 churches. The city council was made up of people of a certain religion. The hospital had to be made up of people of a certain religion, and the local religious establishment is actually what kind of set the rules there. So I founded CHAPS in that town, sort of initially as sort of okay, because but you'd be surprised, of course, how many people actually had stories, and we gained quite a fan base there. Then moving down to the Toronto area when I took over a different office, and I opened the other branch down here some years later, and ended up with the TAPS family in 2008. And I mean, we were probably at a high flux when I had the 3 offices going. We were probably handling 75 to 100 cases a year. That got a little silly.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's hard to focus when you're getting that. So, I'm kind of happier the way it got after a while, where it was about 25 cases a year, to, of course, what we ended up with in the last 2 years, which was, to keep your guys active, you're walking through a graveyard, hoping something will happen when it won't. But things are starting to now. I wouldn't say pick back up. I don't think I'd say that. But the odd investigation here and there just to keep people trained and doing it again. So that's where we're at.
So why was that? Why did you make that decision to go from that kind of spiritual aspect of the field more to the, and I hate using the word scientific because we're not scientists or anything like that, but that actual factual, what you see, proof kind of thing?
Well, do you know what? I guess really what it was is when I was growing up, and look, I had been training as a medium and all that as a child. As a teenager, attending and then teaching near the University of Spiritual Sciences, very, very involved with that particular religion in my teenage years into my early 20s. I think what it was is, at that particular church, I saw a lot of politics happening. You see the psychic fairs happening, and then you start seeing people giving each other tips on how to read people. And of course, the unfortunate side of it is there were people that I do believe are truly gifted. I believe that there were people that have that. I don't know where it comes from, but they have that touch that they're empathetic enough. Maybe they can read somebody. Maybe spirit talks through them. I don't know. I don't know the real answer to it. I don't think any of us does, as much as we tend to want to think we do. And you're very right when it comes to the paranormal sciences. You're right. It's a pseudoscience. We're fumbling in the dark at best. Really, we can criticize all kinds of teams for doing whatever they do, but in the same respect, who the hell knows if they're right and we're wrong? But when I switched over, really was when I started seeing just the amount of money that was being made doing certain things. And for me, it was about, like, I'm okay with psychic fairs, whatever, private readings. That's totally fine. You know what you're getting into. You pay for what you get. But, when I started seeing, so-and-so's house has got problems and they're scared. And now this person is going in there and charging them $600 to do a clearing of their home.
Mm-hmm.
What? That's garbage. And that kind of shit should not be tolerated. And I'm glad to and proud to openly call that out whenever I see it. I remember doing this is off topic, but talking about the whole money charging thing. I was doing somebody had said there was a local celebrity in this paranormal field around here. He had a talk show and he was doing a graveyard walk, right? So I was invited to this. This was probably in honestly the height of what we were doing. We've gotten quiet since, but he invited me up with him and was talking to this crowd of 60 people, and he sort of got into the spiritual side of things, which also reinforced my belief. Every year something reinforces my belief in the pragmatic approach. And he was talking about being near the back of the graveyard and the light rods and the shadow people and all that shit. And, again, further enforcing to me that these people are eating this up like dinner, like they're like, wow, this is real. This is what I experienced too. And then he came to me and he said, I don't think we're charging enough money. What should we be doing as the paranormal societies out there to charge a more efficient amount of money with people and in homes when we go to see them? And I don't know what select words I had for him in front of those 60 people. And then I walked out with my crew. And he had something pretty bad to say about me on his talk show a couple of days after that. But it's unfortunate. That's what took me away from the spiritual side of things, because it had so much more to do with we had a couple in that church that ended up in the Inquirer, Ontario's psychic couple and all this crap. And it became, the narrative of that day, of that sort of thing, it was kind of like, okay, you look back when the paranormal TV shows started to kick into a more, rather than like the In Search Ofs and the One Step Beyond that noise, it was more towards ghost hunting. And say we had Most Haunted, which of course, you're probably very familiar with the lads and everybody on that show, as I am. Carl and I have had umpteen conversations because we were in the martial arts circles together too.
Okay.
So now then the psychic approach on that show, for some reason, every psychic, it's funny because it's ironic that when I was in the psychic being trained, it was a Scottish person. It seems that every single psychic in the world on TV is Scottish. It's true. You have to be Scottish to be that way, right?
Yeah, well, Derek the Coram was actually from Liverpool, but he's right. Technically Scottish anyway.
Well, he always sounded like a Scot to me, but anyway.
Very similar.
But he made his inflections were very turbo, very, very the way the North is. And I know that Kieran had outed him near the end. And I think Mr. O'Keefe did a bit of a favor to a lot of us, because I think at that point in time, back to a lot of those shows, which was good, because for the first couple of years of my team, we did have a medium. Donalda was in her 70s. She studied in Stansted Hall, and she wasn't like, we had rules. If she felt something, don't say it. You come up to me, mention it to me, that maybe we should go into that next room or focus on this. But it wasn't ever a, energetic approach to the video or whatever. She wasn't sensationalistic. And I didn't, because I didn't want her there for that. You know, I don't want, I'm not there for the show. I think a video could be entertaining without being full of bullshit. But that's the last time I've ever dealt with one, because the next time that I dealt, unfortunately, and this is the unfortunate side, because whereas we get stained by a lot of bad teams, okay, that a decent paranormal research team will always suffer because some jackass. If you are somebody who truly believes you're gifted and trying to help people, you'll always get stained by that psychic, that medium. We did an investigation with a local team who, unfortunately, they allowed their psychic to kind of take over the spectrum of what they were doing. And we came to a location, which was pretty cool. We've been about old base, old Air Force base. And all she had to say was seeing all the people that were hanging in the trees, and she could feel them crying tears on her, and she could feel their blood. And I'm thinking, I didn't even know what to say. And then I called her up on it, you know, and then all the rest of the night I had demons chasing me around, and they were nipping at my heels. Like, this is not supernatural, right? You know, I'm not Dean or Sam. I'm not nearly as tall. I don't. So it did pull me away from that, and it always enforces me to get more and more and more closer to a pragmatic approach, less and less equipment, or very least catering the equipment to actually what means something. And
something that's tangible. It's something that can be quantified.
And I've had the fortunate experience over the last, 30 years of investigating, but we'll say 17 with CHAPS, to have investigated with about 40 different teams, and I know you've international exploits yourself, which is awesome because you can really see the mindsets. And working with, say, CPRI in the States, where the entire team, to be on that team, you have to have a degree of some sort in a field of science. And it's now, this the approach. Their approach is trend and data. Like, they'll investigate a place 70 times, and they won't do a single EVP session. And all the 70 times, they'll just record stuff that I would find personally, I wouldn't know what to do with it, but it was an interesting take, right? But at the core, I feel we're all the same. When you hear that shit in the background, you all react the same way. Well, two ways. You either have a natural reflection to go, hi, because you're scared, or you're thinking, that's the coolest thing ever, get the video camera. I'm fortunate to have that. And you all act like 15-year-old kids when you hear that noise, regardless of what level of science you are. Hopefully, I don't ever want to get to the point where I'm on an investigation. Somebody's face starts to scratch down in front of my face, and I go, oh, better document that.
It's funny that you kind of bring up a while ago in regard to like psychics and fraudulent psychics and things like that. I agree with you that 99% of them are full of crap, and I wouldn't touch them. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot barge pole. But there are ones out there that are, that legitimately have that gift, and it is a gift. Like you won't, you can't just wake up one morning and say I'm a psychic or anything like that. These people can pull a rabbit out of their backsides. But on the flip side of that, you have people in like our side of the fence. The investigators that go out there and search for something tangible, like we deem as tangible, like that, looking for something to quantify. But then you've got that trust element with them as well. Like with Vancouver Paranormal Society, when I used to run Vancouver Paranormal Society, 90% of the investigators I had over the past decade were full of shit. Like basically full of shit. Like there was just the trust element just totally went out the window with most of them. And unfortunately, towards the end, once I left Vancouver Paranormal Society, there was a solid team there. But it's just, I don't know what it's like on the East Coast, but I don't know what it's like on the east side of Canada, rather. But it was just crazy here. And like, you know, where you have that list of criteria for investigators, we were basically at one point, you know, just letting anyone in, providing the fact that we had that trust. And it was towards the end, it was all friends of friends, you know, people that we could get in a room and say, okay, I heard this, or, you know, I got touched, and you can actually turn around to this person and say, okay, I believe what happened to you, rather than that kind of standoffish where you think, okay, they're just full of shit. They're seeking attention and stuff like that. And that was a struggle, and that still was a struggle. And that was the reason why. That's one of the reasons why I pulled away from TAPS. I pulled away from everything. I just wanted my own circle of people around me. And I just started from the beginning and just worked my way back out again to where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
It just, the problem with the field, I feel, and I'm rabbiting on here, it's trust with people, because there's that, you know, ultimately, if you can't trust the person by the side of you, there's no point us doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually interesting. So this is one of the reasons why I started my live show on the other channel, is simply because of the fact of, you know, dealing not only with a lot of psychic mediums in investigations that we were running into. And I mean, we've talked about this before, you know, Peter, where, you know, you getting somebody saying, oh, there's Darby the leprechaun and some other, but, you know, demons are chasing you, like you had with, you know, Dave. And I mean, it's just nonsense, right? And it got to that point where we actually would not bring in it. I mean, I was there, but I wouldn't involve myself in the psychic part of any investigation. It was just there as a, you know, set up, doing the investigation, letting it be. If we did bring a medium on, they weren't allowed in the investigation. Like, come in, do a walk around. If your things, what you have to say, aligns with what it is that we happen to pick up by our cameras or investigative equipment, or on the investigation, or if it happens to come up, great. You know, we can incorporate this, but, you know, you get so much nonsense. And this is one of the reasons why we started the live show, is because this way people can see how a psychic actually works. And this is why we do it live, because we have to be accountable live on the show. So, you know, and it's just one of those things. I mean, we've dealt with that again for years, and, you know, you especially even just trying to test mediums, you get all kinds of nonsense coming in, you know, and, oh, I'm God, and, or, you know, I know that you have something attached to you, and pay me $800 and I'll get that removed for you. And it's like, oh my God, it's just so much nonsense. And it's tough. It's tough to find people that are legitimate. It's tough to find people that you can trust on that team. And like you said, even just the people that, you know, you can trust with that. I think something touched me, you know, you're in that place of, okay, are you just one of those people that are like a hypochondriac? Like, I don't know if I should.
Attention seeking majority of the time is people just want attention on them. That's what we found out. And I'm not, you know, I'll probably just speculating here, but the majority of people that had that wanted that attention with us. And so, Dave, going back to your team now, are you right and correct that you've decreased the size of your team?
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, every team goes through phases of certain lots. It's like, you know, at the very beginning, of course, you want to grow, you want to expand. We'd had, you know, 1 offices to 3 offices. And at one point in time, I think we had 30 active investigators. And, you know, and truthfully, to your point, Pete, like 1 out of 10 are worth an ounce of salt. You know, because right off the bat, the first thing that an investigator feels is that they're going to be having a WWF fight with demons. When they realize this is actually a really boring thing that requires a great deal of passion. What frustrates me, of course, is that my team will never have the same amount of passion I do. You know, it's my baby, so it's on my mind 90% of the day. So yeah, I did decrease, and I decreased the volume of equipment. I had a little crap equipment when I started, and then we had lots of crap equipment by the time it came to the middle, and then I went, this is crap, and then I sold it. And now I really do focus on a lot of basics. I do experiment with things experimentally. But as far as the size of the team, yeah, there's definitely one thing that COVID has done is people lost their drive to do anything. Like you can, I bet you I've been through 15 new members in the last 2 years, and unfortunately, like I'm particular, right? I mean, if you don't show that you're interested, then I unfortunately will scrub you off. So over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of research projects and that kind of stuff you got to do just to keep people in practice, and people aren't interested in that stuff. And I did reduce because what I don't want is a team full of people that are on my team so they can go out and investigate, and that's cool. But as far as the pre-work and the after work and the all the in between, then no. And then I'm not interested in having you. I do it myself if that's the case. I mean, I could do an investigation on my own and listen to my own audio, but if you're not gonna participate, and nowadays, obviously, as I know that, look, I'm 50 now. That's, I know that in the next 20 years it'll probably slow down a bit. Health wise, I got set on my ass for 2 years, pretty harshly. So that gave me a reality check too, right? That, I had to lean on my team, right? I had to lean on my team to get out there and to investigate. And sometimes when that wasn't happening and I was still having to deal with it, I realized that I'm not that interested in having a huge team. Yeah. What I'm interested in having is enough people in one office to be able to handle an investigation. I like to have 3 or 4 on an investigation properly. And I want to have 2 other people in the area as backup or change things around. Same as down here. The majority of the people on CHAPS have been there for 10 to 15 years now. Like a good, 60% of my team have been with me longer than 10 years. I find it's like a ratchet though. A team is like a breathing chest. It grows and then it contracts. I'm fortunate, my daughter, has now joined the ranks, and she's only 20. So, and she's very passionate and very articulate and talks a lot like her dad, except for the fact that we politically don't align, which means that she's wrong most of the time. But
I'm sure she says differently when she's around. That's for sure.
Well, the thing is eventually she'll be in charge of this team. So she can say whatever she wants then, but until then, it's me. But the changes that, you can see and the amount of teams you see, and now what I'm seeing, unfortunately, with a dangerous trend, Peter, that I'm seeing is that teams that are busy, and it sounds silly that's an earmark of whether you're doing well. It's not, but everybody wants to be busy. The teams that are busy right now are the ones with the little plastic parabolic dishes and the toys. We've gone back to an era of phantasmagorical. That's what's going to happen. And psychics and being on investigations and not doing responsible investigating. Right. Again, remember, like I grew up in a spiritualist church. I don't hate psychics. I just hate the ones that don't take their gift responsibly. And I don't like investigative teams that they're investigating to get the fame. They're not investigating for the right reasons. And that's kind of why I sort of drew back on a great deal of it. Just because maybe I even found myself doing that for a while there. I got rid of, I used for a long time. I remember about 5 years ago, I spent about $5,000 some really nice, stupid nice production cameras. And I remember we were investigating in Ohio somewhere. And I found myself spending more time setting up this friggin' camera, making sure that all the f-stops or whatever the frig it was, and the white balance and the fade was perfect for the shot. And I thought, what the hell am I doing? I'm spending half my investigation making sure we're making a show. I got to that point, right? I 4 weeks later, I sold both the cameras. Like I video investigation. Do I want our investigations to be entertaining and keep your attention? I want them to be entertaining because we're telling jokes and we're having a good time and we're being interesting, not because we're running around the house and losing our mind. But I can do that with a regular video camera, and that video camera serves as debunking as well. So, and that's the other reason why we reduced in size, because really you need more people if you want to make kind of a production, right? But I found myself getting into that mindset where, how's this going to look? I was still a serious investigator, but I had a lot of production on mind. And we'd have our annual 101 meeting with the team, and we'd talk about production, and I was starting to put people on camera that were just better orators. And then I'm thinking to myself, what in God's name am I doing? I'm not focusing on investigating right now. We just, we were doing 101s and public speaks, and, stage shows all over the place. And then I don't know whether subconsciously you start to believe your own hype, maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe I humbled the crap out of myself. You know what it was? I mean, like honestly, and I know you've been through this too, is I got sick. I got sick where, I was always a very loud, verbose kind of personality. And then something in my life kicked my ass. And I went from making over 100 G's a year to living on a disability pension. Yeah. And teaching martial arts for 17 years to retiring, and doing 70 investigations a year to going, I can't even plan to do one at all. So there was a lot of humbling aspect to that, and you have a lot of time to think.
You did, and like the COVID, when COVID hit as well, it kind of gave a sense at that time just to reflect on what you did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And like, don't get me wrong, like when I took over VPS about 11, 12 years ago, having that continued tick over where we had investigations every week, you know what, it was great. Like, we were riding in that for a long time, and it was before I had kids. I was still with my wife and stuff like that, but I had that time to do that. But then the candle starts flickering because you're starting to burn yourself out, and you're like, I'm doing too much now, and that enjoyment for me started coming away. And I was just like, I was one point for about a year, I was kind of in that transition period where I was either gonna have to pull away, or I was gonna have to make this field into something that I was going to enjoy. And part of the reasons things that I did was exactly like you, Dave. With VPS at the time, we had so much shit and drama and stuff like that going on over the past decade, where majority of my time was babysitting, babysitting people, and that's what I felt like all the time. I wasn't even reviewing evidence at one point because I was just dealing with shit that was coming up.
Drama.
Then, yeah, it was just drama all the time, and it was so petty. Then we decided, like me and Kelly Berg, we decided just to pull away from everything and say, okay, let's just keep the team at a slim level, and then just see how it rides out. And then, of course, the investigations start building up again, and then the team gets bigger, and before you know it, you're back up there again. You're dealing with the same shit again. And it was, towards the end of VPS, it was, the people there I loved and trust, but I had to pull away from that, and I had to pull away from TAPS as well, because it was wrong for me, because it didn't feel right, because I was getting people contacting me, asking me shit because I was a director. or I was an international liaison and stuff like that. And it was just, it was just like, I don't need this in my life. I'm just going to focus on what I enjoy, and that's it. And that sounds like what you're doing as well, Dave. And then when you have the health scares as well, it puts everything into perspective. Like, I don't know about you, Dave. Like when I came out after my transplant, my dealing with bullshit was like zero in my group. I basically went around and I cleared house in my group, got rid of people left, right, and center because I couldn't trust them. But it was people that I hung on to because I thought that I needed them, but essentially they needed me.
Yeah.
And then we trimmed it all down to a reasonable size. But yeah, no, it's a funny path though, running a group, and it's not like for a credible group as going as long as your group and as long as like Vancouver Paranormal Society has, because they've been going since the 1960s. It was like it was like a full-time job. And and that's what it is. Like you're dealing with stuff every day, and then so I guess in essence what I'm doing now is retirement for me as the paranormal investigator I was at Vancouver Paranormal Society, because I couldn't keep up with it. It just that momentum, it was just you trimmed it down, the momentum started again, you trimmed it down, and then it was a continual like circle. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of moved away from it.
What I can definitely go with that is on the one hand, it wasn't fun for a long time because all I was worried about was we're getting it in, let's go over the evidence, let's produce the video, let's shred the video down, and then we do the final production. Great, let's get it out, get it on YouTube. Great. Our team is capping off on around 500 investigations in the last 17 years, which is heavy considering you have some years where you do nothing, and then there was like a 4-year period of time where every single weekend of the entire year 3 months were investigated, and then 4 people would go over the evidence. But you're very right. Like I still keep just to remind myself when they send you the resignation letter. I'm sure you've had a few resignation letters letting you know that your team basically will fall apart, or that years ago, I know for me, CHAPS, when somebody was mad because I didn't have CHAPS stick, that wouldn't be a trade, sue my ass off into the Neptune. Regardless, like you're right, you do take a look at things and go, you know what, I've got my best right now, and I tell the new people that are in my team, because there's a process, right? Let's say before your picture gets on the website, a year and a half before that happens, and the first 90 days is critical, right? The first 90 days is like, how much communication does this person do with the team? We all have portals. I guarantee you all have private groups, say even on Facebook, which seems to be the easiest to negotiate as a portal. We've had a CHAPS members only page 15 years now. And, if you're new and you can't even be bothered to have some conversation in there or some feedback on the 100 in there, then, that's the first step. I really, really want to do this, but you really can't make time to even talk about it. So you're waiting. Even me, his daughter, yes, she did. At the age of 13, I think I took her out on her first investigation. I'm very open. We'll for a second. And I'll grow the team by 5. I'll keep it, I'll reduce it by 4 within a month. And out of those 5, you might get one that's going to stick around. At the fatigue of the older members, right? That it's just not their thing anymore. It's not their gig any longer. And I've tried to be with those people because I've known them for 10 or 15 years now. I say, look, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm going to be disappointed, but you're not going to hurt my. If you say, Dave, it's just not in my wheelhouse anymore, I got to move on. okay. I'd rather that than me have to, binge on you all the time to do something. So understand the drama and the politics. I've got about 900 resignation letters in my my website portal there. Just got to keep all the reasons why everybody left and what kind of a jerk I am, and
Oh yeah,
I am a huge jerk. So between that and the reassessing my life over the last 2 years, absolutely, I am new to the group and I've learned a lot from CHAPS.
I'm not sure who it is because we can't see their names on
Oh,
Facebook.
is that new to my team? Did I just call somebody?
Yeah,
out?
it's every now and again you get a Facebook comment and it doesn't come up with the name of the person.
Well, if that's one of the people on my crew there, say it. Now Fiona.
And Lynda.
Okay. Lynda's been with me for just about a year now, and we focus more on the technical aspect. So that's good. Lynda's a good worker. She's a good soldier. And that's what a team needs, is tons of soldiers. There's always loudmouths like me. But what it needs is people that actually work. And like say Fiona, she's the next generation. She's the Satori Hawes for Jason, right? She's grown up around this. Her whole life I've been investigating. Hey, Scooby. Yep. That's my other investigator. Okay. So they're who watching for me. Fiona, I remember Fiona, we're very open about Fiona, my daughter, my young trouble. She had an interesting youth. She kind of like me, very erratic. And so we brought her on an investigation. I wanted to work on things to keep her mind focused on things. And I had her do a solo for an autistic child. And it was absolutely bizarre to watch her at 13. The actual communication at that age and the questions that they would come up with, not me, it's all predetermined. We're talking like a young kid.
Yeah.
And, ever since then, and now I've got her on the team, and she just got voted in as a full member about 3 weeks ago.
That's awesome.
And you know what? She'll be the one that when I retire, because it'll happen one day, I'm very sure. I'll be handing the reins and the equipment over to her. Although by then the equipment will be 34 years old, so she might want to outfit it. But I'm not paying for it. She can pay for it.
He's telling you now, Fiona.
She has a university degree, so she can afford to do that and hopefully support me.
Yeah.
She'll be the one buying all the fancy equipment.
Yeah. We can hope. I've got 7 kids, so
Jesus,
one of them has to support me.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's something we're living in.
Safety in numbers, no doubt.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, your ventures with your team, Chaps. What kind of investigations do you do? Do you is it just like residential? Do you do public investigations, that kind of thing?
Well, we're probably 60-40 residential commercial. Ones I do a lot of those. I used to. Okay, like I'm going to say, let's not even put the last 2 years into perspective.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
because we all know what last 2 years is. I probably would do about 10 101s a year, various libraries, theaters, whatever, and museums, public investigations. Look, the public investigations, I think for people out there too, also have to realize that that's like your taste test. People always get a hold of me and they go, well, the evidence from that, there's like 75 of you there. There's no evidence.
Yeah.
You got to play with some toys and you got to hear me spew bullshit for 2 hours on a stage, which is it. But commercially speaking, we do a fair bit of commercial, and then probably 2 or 3 road trips into the States a year to, for the team, so we can investigate something interesting. Because of course everything in Canada gets knocked down, at least in this end of the country.
Yeah.
No, it does in our end as well. It's
same here,
which sucks. And I mean, the government gets involved with everything, right? Like, the minute you whip out a video camera, you got to pay for a bloody filming permit and all that shit.
Yeah.
We did a the only team to do it. They haven't been. Nobody else has had to go through this. We were asked to do a very large museum in Ottawa. I won't say it because that would be libelous, but it ended up costing us a pretty penny to do it. We thought at the time it was wise to make the investment. And then when we got there, we were in a boardroom with them, and they decided all of a sudden then to set all the rules. And you got to realize this museum, it's like 5 floors, million square feet, monster, right? So if you had 20 people there, it wouldn't be a problem. You break into very small teams. So we did do that, spent a couple $1,000 taking care of that. People traveled from all across the province to do it. And then we got there, and we basically had to stay in one group. All the lights were on, all the machinery was still on, all the walking away. And I thought, I've literally had people travel 8-10 hours to be here, pay for a hotel, fork out a couple $100 a piece. And now we find out that we're basically on a tour group. Broke my heart. So unfortunately, that's what you get in Canada with a lot of that stuff.
Well, that actually happened kind of in Fort Worden, though, too, in Washington, when we went down. Pete and I went down to Fort Worden a few years back, and we thought that we were going to have. I think we all paid. I don't remember what it was exactly, but remember we got down there, and it turned out that there was a wedding and some sort of high school something tour group going on, and so it was pretty much useless. Like,
it was. I organised a CHAPS West Coast because everything was predominantly at that time. All of those reunions were going on the East Coast, and so I organised something with Darren from Washington. I had some Marie come up as well. Marie Cuff come up as well, and the assumption was when I booked the site and the rooms and stuff like that was the fact that we were going to get access to the whole site. Yeah. And it was only when we got there that there was a wedding on. There was some of the areas we weren't allowed to, utilize and stuff like that. And it was like the whole weekend. Like a lot of people enjoyed it, but it was
still had fun. It was still
a freaking embarrassment. Like because I put blood, sweat, and tears into organising that on the assumption that we had the fault to ourselves. And as soon as we got there, it was just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. They did allow us into a couple of buildings, but it was limited.
You know what? I think it's a good and a bad thing about what we do is the horror stories that you can tell. We've investigated a ton of pubs and bars and hotels, and I don't know what it is, what infection those places have, but whenever we end up doing them, we'll investigate a bar. The owner always ends up having to get shit-faced with their friends. We did a hotel that we drove 9 hours to get to, and they had said the hotel would be empty. The bar will be open till about 9 p.m. And I said, okay, I can deal with that. And then they decided to invite the whole town. It was a small town, but there were 150 people in the bar that were all singing the Ghostbusters theme because that's what we do. Yeah. And so we didn't actually get started until 2 a.m, which sucks. And then, half of us were in the DVR room, and we were relaxing for a bit, and all of a sudden we saw it looked like what was going to be evidence of the freaking century. Our camera was lifting up and then shaking and then dropped, and we thought, holy shit, we're the only ones in the hotel, right? Luckily, we had another camera that kind of pointed down the same hallway. We didn't realize that the hotel did actually take a few guests in that night, and that one of the guests went out and started to screw with our camera. So, of course, I had to say to the hotel the next day because they're like, how was the investigation? Did you get any results? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Because if we did get some results, I have to throw it out. Because the fact you actually had a patron that was on purposely messing with our stuff, and we didn't get started till 2 a.m. We finished our investigation at about 7:45 in the morning. for a small 20-room hotel. I don't know what it is about bars, but we've done some places in Niagara Falls, and we all go down there. And I know unfortunately, I know that Wes from Cops and us and another team met in Niagara Falls and went and did one of the big hotels that, of course, the Battle of 1812. That's, of course, it's haunted. Somebody was stuffed in a big keg and stabbed with a bayonet. Whatever bullshit story that they feed people. And again, it was another nightmare. The place didn't close till 2:30 in the morning. So now you've got 3 teams that got together. So horror stories are fun. I think I could actually do instead of teaching like a 101 to people, as they're focusing on that, I think I could probably do like one of those, in the actor's studio when it comes to paranormal investigation and the horror stories that we've done. I guess I like residential more though, because in the end you actually do have somebody that seems to appreciate, the help. And we have a lot of those stories too. Commercially, that's more for us.
Right.
Yeah, I went off, to be honest with you. Everyone says that, on the motto, especially with the association that I used to be a part with and you're a part with now, Dave and Kathy, is that, we're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I found over the years, particularly in Canada, that this is the most, when it comes to residentials, it's the most thankless field to ever be in, because you would do backflips and you'd do almost anything for a client, and then not even the thanks. Like if you went to their house and you didn't produce any evidence and you turn around and said to them, "Look, I didn't find anything that I deemed as credible," they won't believe you. Yeah, they won't believe you, and they call you bullshit, and they're like, "Well, what about this?" And you try and explain it naturally and saying, "You know what? Your boilers, your furnace is spilling out carbon monoxide. I suggest you get a gas installer out here to go and check your boiler." No, it's not that. It's definitely haunted and stuff like that. And
because somebody said that there was a vortex in their home.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly it. Somebody came in that was, from some Facebook freaking spiritual group and said, "Oh yeah, you've got a portal, and your bathroom toilet's letting out all kinds of freaking demons every time you pee." Who knows what?
You know what? I've traveled for hours and hours, like on the West Coast, trying to get to residential cases, because I've had like the client literally crying on the phone saying, "I need your help. I need your help." And then you get there and you do your thing. Then you go away and you say, "Okay, I'll be in touch if I find anything." And you're like, "Oh, I found a couple of, tangible, reasonable EVPs that I'm going to share with you." And call them up. Nothing. Like total disconnect. It's like, "Well, I've got this for you." Oh, and then you send them a text and they say, "Oh, just email it to me." And then they just disappear off the face of the planet. And you're like,
yeah.
And it's not us paying for what we do or anything like that. And to agree to a degree, yeah, we do it for the research. Yeah, that's what we say. But we also do it for the thrill of the chase. Like I get a kick out of getting, I get that picture or I get that EVP, and it's like, fuck that. That's sorry, pardon my French, but that's what I want. I want to get that thrill, and that's ultimately what I do it for. And I do it for the research as well, because I want to collect that data and I want to find out if there's any parallels to what I get. But when it like residentials, I'm like, you know what? Unless it's friends of friends or anything like that I know that I can get not something back from it, but I can get that sense of gratitude at the end of it. I will then entertain it. But besides that, it's just.
I think one of the hardest things to do is try to convince somebody that their vacuum dust is not a demon orb. Right?
Yeah,
I don't. Like I've done a whole series of videos on orbs, on this, on that, on divoting rods or whatever, or anything. I did a 17-part series on testing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, orbs obviously. Look, it's not your Uncle Jack. It is dust.
They'll be like, they'll send you those videos that are like, so they send you these videos of, oh, look at all the angels in my house. And it's like, honey, it's your dog. He just shook it. Like, you can see the dog. The dog's shaking. No, it's got to be. I know it's haunted. I know it.
I guess I've been fortunate out here to have had the majority of my resi cases have been pretty good. So I've been fortunate, but yes, absolutely. When we investigate, yes, for research, B, to help, and C, it's okay to want that that's not even a word.
I know what you're going to say, Dave.
I'm going to say
I get it.
That feedback from the client, at least
That's
like, wow,
good.
really, the appreciation.
Yeah.
I'm driving a 5-hour round trip, paying for a hotel, bringing my equipment and my whole team to satisfy your need. Well, my need is at least to have you appreciate. Luckily, I mean, I'll say 70% of my cases are pretty good with that. But I've had gong shows, where I've had to get lawyers involved sometimes. Oh yeah, because if I see something I don't think is right, I'm gonna, like, you mean if you're in a home where you see abuse, you have to report it. Like, ethically speaking, I can't see something that is not right and not say something to somebody, because then you're just as big of an asshole as somebody that sees the abuse and doesn't say anything.
You're right.
So I have those kind of gong shows too.
Yeah.
Just for Mr. McDick Pants, I actually spent four summers investigating a hotel there, so I know Colmont very well. Lots of stories about the hotel. Well, not so much the hotel, the bar. So yeah.
Which is a great name.
I like what Patricia is saying here too. She says, reflection in windows that are trees. But don't you see the face? It's funny. Like, when, we used to have pictures upon pictures upon pictures of this. And you're trying to explain to people, I'm sorry, but there's nothing there. And especially now with digital cameras or phone cameras, those are the worst to be taking some of these pictures with, because they're going to create some sort of matrixing. They're going to create their own light sources. They're going to create, different things. But no, they insist it's got to be this, it's got to be that.
For what I tell people is, honestly, when I start to investigate their home and they ask about orbs, okay, so we'll say I've averaged out about 500 investigations over 17 years. I've got about 3,000 pictures on my website. Not a single one is paranormal.
Yeah.
All right. I have one piece in 17 years of video evidence that is debatable. I've got audio. That's where I put my focus. But like, my video is used to debunk. My pictures are used to set the scene. That's it. I've never taken, nor have I ever seen a paranormal picture. And before anybody asks me about STS, SLS, Connect, or whatever, get me started on that shit. I've never, ever, 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 ever seen anything, and nor will I ever until I see something against a neutral surface with accompanying video walk across the screen, not be a little tiny table cricket in the corner or something in the corner of a door, and it's not freaking waving at you. It's trying to map the room because it's doing what the algorithm says it's doing.
And then also to add to that as well, Dave, the zero air movements and zero electricity in that room as well, because it also picks up on static as well.
Right. It's shit.
It's a pile of wank.
People walk around with their mobile unit, it's even worse, because now that laser eye is spinning like crazy, and you're just moving it around,
So just kind of it may seem a very simple question, but obviously different teams operate in different ways. At what point do you get within your team that you have that tangible piece of evidence that you provide to that client, that that find that you cannot explain? So what process do you get to get to that point where you hand that over and say, okay, this is what we found.
Okay, so obviously I would never present it as proof. I present it as
Yep.
evidence, just at that, and they can take it what they want. Okay, like we're doing a case, right? We just finished the case. First off, the way we video, which is obviously third person. I have everybody who's talking is in the frame. We'll go over the audio. A couple of us will go over the same audio. You pick out your hits, right? That sounds, that sounds, that sounds. We have a criteria. It's not noises. It's not bangs. It's not pops. It's syllabic. We'll look at the oscilloscope or the digital imprint of what it does versus the other voices. We'll sample voices against that voice. Then, you know, obviously Sandy and I are generally the primary when it comes to that. We'll go through it and go, okay, is it presentable? Is it, you know, is it audible? What class is it? We generally try to stick to like a 1 through 3, B, A through C. Then we'll take those hits, share those hits with the team, and then we haven't even gotten the video yet. Okay, and then we get what they think it is. If they disagree and or do, oh, that's my voice, that's me, I did that. Okay, then we'll narrow those hits down. So we might start off with 10 hits, and then we'll end up with, say, 2 hits.
Right.
And then we take it to video. We find that spot on the video. Okay, great. Oh no, somebody was in the middle of a burp. That's them, right? And sometimes it's not on video, which sucks. When I get right down to the end, sometimes I might share it with another team, a little bit of peer review. To which point, if I can't debunk it, I'll make it part of the evidence package, and kind of say to the client, look, I mean, like I've got proof, no, not here nor there, but I cannot debunk this particular piece. So this is your property, and you can decide that this is or is not, right? You know, it's a beautiful thing to have the video camera where it should be. And it's amazing what audio sounds like versus when you see it on camera. I know that one of my first investigators, Dan, we were doing the Cornwall jail, and he was doing an audio session in isolation, or in the, I don't know what the hell you call it. I've never been to jail.
Solitary.
The solitary, that little room. And he was sitting in there and he was asking, you know, what did you do to get yourself in here? So we hear this great gravelly overturned. I'm like, holy shit, that's a court term. And it was like, it just sounded creepy as all hell. Like, you know, Satan himself had crawled into the walls right there, climbing up, claws are everywhere. He said that through Dan. And, but we had a camera, we had a DVR camera right on his face. And then one of our investigators said, well, roll the tape back about another 5 seconds. And then we realized on camera, it was his stomach gurgling.
Oh.
Like, I mean, my audio though, man, dude, like we played with that audio for about 2 weeks going like this is like, who gave us this evidence? And then realized it was his stomach. So I've been married 4 times. There's lots of demons in my life.
That wasn't me messaging it anyway, so I wasn't typing it out on my phone or anything like that. That's crazy. So, have you ever had any growls on your EVPs, like growls or anything like that?
Oh, I think you said grouse.
Grouse, yeah, no, yeah.
I realize that you're English, but
no, sorry,
what the hell are you talking about?
I'm still learning Canadian tongue, eh? So just bear with me.
He's talking about the little pigeons there.
Yeah, I'm sure over the years, I don't have anything that stands out particularly, but we do get noises. When we were doing West Virginia, the state penitentiary, Moundsville, we've done that a couple times. And in the psych ward, we did get some screamy, growly noises, which were kind of neat. I don't really go a lot off of noises because you can make them, your body can make them. I mean, I make a couple noises per investigation too. You know.
So we the reason why I'm asking a few years ago, and it just randomly popped into my head, we used to have a sound engineer. It was actually a part of our team.
Yeah.
And we were investigating a theatre in Burnaby, just outside of Vancouver. And we got a growl come through, and it just sounded like that. And it kind of put everyone back, and I was laughing at it because it was just hilarious because it sounded like someone put it on. That's how bad it was. But the guy that was a part of our team was another Dan actually as well. He actually played it back, and it was a voice, but it was at a faster frequency. So that and he was actually saying something at the time, and it was kind of interesting because that his opinion was that there was when we get growls and stuff like that, it's actually a form of communication where they're trying to break through frequencies to try and talk to us. It's not like a demon standing in the corner going or anything like that. It's it's a voice.
Maybe it is, Peter.
Yeah, perhaps. You never know, right? I could be standing mocking a demon, and he could be standing right behind me, but I doubt that very much, unless my wife walks down the stairs. But but that's good. That's good. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks, Dave.
Good. My bladder's going to explode.
Okay. So, I got the American franchise here. So that was my wife's choice. I would have carried a Timmy's for sure.
You know what? That's as bad as rooting for the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh no! I won't tell who I follow, but that's a different story. But no, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Do you want to plug your team and your media pages and stuff like that, so we can?
Okay. Let's see. I won't give you Twitter because my Twitter got hijacked and I haven't used it in months. It's if you look up CHAPS Paranormal on Instagram, it's just that. If you look up CHAPS Paranormal on Facebook, it's just that. If you look up www.chapsparanormal.ca, and if you're on YouTube, look up CHAPS Paranormal. It's just that. Like you see in my display name, it's all one word, and that's about it.
Easy to remember. Easy to remember.
Easy. And I just want to say thanks to all the people with their comments. Unfortunately, a lot of the Facebook users, we couldn't see who you are, but say thank you to you guys. But there's a Patricia McDonald. There's obviously Fiona. You might know her, Dave.
I might.
And there's, I think
Lynda will be out there.
Yeah, there's McDick Pants as well. Yeah, Mr. McDick Pants. And Adrian as well. If it's Adrian or Tina, thanks for tuning in, guys. And
River Valley Paranormal as well.
Yeah, that would be that'd be Adrian or Tina. But thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will be back next week for a new episode. Take care.
Great, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Be good, guys.